Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode here on the From the Farmyard podcast. And today we are once again adding another video to our From the Farmyard Friends series, which if you've been here before, then you know the drill, but if you haven't, let me just go over what it is for you. Basically, we are inviting some of our friends, people we call mentors, and I said that wrong, but that's okay. You guys have heard it enough. These are our friends, and we hope that you'll call them your friends too. But today we're inviting somebody that's been on the podcast before. You guys know her. We loved her. And I think you guys loved her too. But enough for me. Let's let our special guest introduce herself.
All right. Hi, I'm Molly Sutton with chickens.org. And chickens.org is a nonprofit. We set up chicken coops and gardens in schools, and we help people raise chickens. And yeah, I'm from South Carolina. Now I live in South Carolina, but I just moved here from Arizona.
Yeah.
It's been a big change.
So today we're basically going to go over that change because I think it would be a neat story for you guys to hear. And a little life update. We've had you on the podcast before, and I think that just to see what's been happening over the past, I feel like it's been a year since we've had you on. I feel like it's been a while. Yeah, I think it might be.
Yeah,
But over the
possibly. It's
past
close to that.
Yeah, over the past year or whatever, what's been happening? And let's talk about your big change and the move. So if you want to get into that, go for it.
Yeah, so my family and I decided to move from Phoenix, Arizona to Waterloo, South Carolina, in the middle of nowhere, which I love. Um, we were kind of getting tired of the heat in Phoenix, and we didn't want to live in a city anymore. So we decided we've been planning to move for a couple of years, and we were looking for properties. We looked at Washington State and we looked at South Carolina, which are very different places. But I went to school in Washington, and so we ultimately decided against it because my parents wanted to be close to me, and my dad did not want to be in rain for 3 months of the year. So we settled on a little bit less rainy of a place, but still we get a lot of rain here and I love it. Um, and so people say we're a little crazy because we took our chickens with us cross country. And we did not have a house when we moved. So that was a little bit of a unique situation. So what we did was we got a horse trailer and I turned it into a mobile chicken coop. And all I did was clean it out really well, add like a horse stall mat to the bottom so I could clean it out easily, and the chickens weren't going to get splinters on the wood because it was an old trailer. We added some perches and some bedding and a couple of tube feeders, like PVC pipe feeders.
Mm-hmm.
And we put hardwire cloth up along all of the openings so that it would kind of raccoon proof it a bit and predator proof it a bit more. And we hooked it up and we drove across what, like 6, 7 states, 5, 6 states. Yeah. So it was the middle of summer. We didn't know when we were moving because we had to wait for our house to sell. And summer in Phoenix, if you don't know, is very hot. So we left on July 4th, actually, and it was triple digits out that day. So we were a little bit concerned that the chickens would like get too hot because,
Mm-hmm.
we're driving across southern states in the summer. So to address that, I painted the top of the horse trailer with like white roofing paint so that it kind of reflects a bit more. So I put 3 layers of that on and it stayed so much cooler. Like I
Wow.
think it was about 10 degrees cooler with inside the trailer, even though it's a big metal trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Just having that roofing paint on there made such a big difference. It was amazing.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, and then we put a couple of little like Ryobi battery powered fans in there at night, um, because during the day we had the chickens in the car in pet carriers. We gave them food and water. And my chickens I only had 5 of them that I moved with. So we had 4 hens and a rooster. One was a silkie, so she's small and got her own little pet carrier. But my dad says that you haven't lived until you've driven 2,200 miles with a rooster in the back of your truck.
Oh my goodness.
He swears he learned to speak rooster on that drive because he was the one that took the chickens. I took my dog, and then my mom's car was full of suitcases and stuff. Um, so we drove we in a 3-car caravan. I have an Airstream trailer, so we drove with 2 trailers. I took the chicken trailer at the back of my truck, and my dad drove my Airstream, and we packed all the chickens up. And then we we didn't let hotels know that we had chickens because we didn't want them to kick us out. So at night, we drove all day until it was like starting to get dark, and then we tried to stop right before sundown so that the chickens could eat a dinner and then go up and go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, and then we got an early-ish start. So like we were usually on the road, I think around like 8. So we fed them in the morning. We put them back in the pet carriers, and they were fine with it. They seemed chill. Thankfully, no one got too stressed out. No one got too hot in the heat. If we had to go in to eat somewhere, we kept the car running because we wanted the AC on them.
Yeah.
And it worked out really well. So, like I said, that's how we did our nights on the trip. We stopped and visited a couple friends, and then they got to like get out, and we took some like those pet fences that you can set out and make like a little pen.
Yeah.
And we set those out to let them get outside every once in a while. So every couple days on the trip, I think it took us about 2 weeks to drive over here because we stopped and visited friends, and then it's like a 4-day drive or something. And then of course we had to stop kind of early because we wanted the chickens to go to bed. We didn't want them to sleep in the carrier.
Right.
So every night we swapped out. We had like pee pads in there, like dog pads, and so we changed those out every night.
Yeah.
So definitely moving generates a lot of waste.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we just kind of
I've had to have a chicken in a car before. That was
yeah.
probably a very stinky situation. I'm wondering, you had windows down the whole time?
No, because it was too hot. My dad's AC actually kept going out, so that was not good.
Oh,
No.
Yeah, he had the chickens, so it was a unique drive. We didn't really stop to do a whole lot, but the pea pods actually like absorb a lot. And since we were changing them out every day, and the chickens weren't like eating a lot during the day, they were fine.
Yeah.
And we do school visits with them, with most of them. So
Right.
most of them were used to like going on 20, 30-minute car rides. We practiced a little bit with them before the trip to like get them used to being in the pet carrier for
Right.
longer periods of time. So it wasn't just like a completely crazy change for them,
Right.
but they did really good.
that's good. And at least you only had 5 to move with. It wasn't like you were moving a flock of like 50 or
Exactly.
something.
Yeah, it would have looked a lot different if we were moving a larger flock. But like I said, we were tired of the heat because it kept worsening like illnesses that the chickens had. The reason we took them with us instead of rehoming them, well, A, because they're our pets and we love them, but B, because we suspect that they have Merrick's disease, and we lost like half our flock to that the summer before in the heat. And so instead of rehoming them to someone who had chickens and risk infecting their flock, we just kept them closed off, and then we took them with us. And I think we kept pretty good biosecurity practices. And so yeah, and they're doing great now. They've grown their feathers back better than they've been before. So they're
That's
and they're
awesome.
free range, and yeah, they're loving it. But so when we moved here, we stayed in Greenville, South Carolina for a while, which is like up in the northwest corner of the state, like almost as high as you can get. Because it's nice and cool up here. It was a centralized location. We knew we wanted to live somewhere upstate. And we didn't have a house yet. We've been looking for, like I said, like 2 years, and we wanted to visit properties in person. And we had a realtor down south, but like when we were actually here, we're like, well, you know what? I think we want to kind of stay up north a little further. So we didn't have a house yet. So we were staying in a hotel for until we found a house. So we ended up staying in a hotel for 2 months, I think,
Wow.
which was a lot. And the people at the hotel were so sweet because we would let the chickens out every day. And at first, we started parking them down because we have a rooster and we were concerned, like we don't want to wake people up
Yeah.
with his calling. On the road trip, it was one thing because it's like, we're there for one night and it's not a big deal if
Right.
he starts crowing at 5 a.m. He's pretty good. He doesn't usually start crowing earlier than 5. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. And they were out in the parking lot. So it's like, it wasn't that loud. We only heard him a few times. But then when we landed at the extended stay, we're like, okay, well, like we have to tell them that we have chickens because we had a dog. And so we found pet friendly hotels. Um, and then this one that we found was really great because it had like a city park right next to it in the back. So there was like a wooded area. So we would let the chickens out to free range for like an hour or two a day. We'd be out there supervising them and just like chill. And like we weren't really working much at the time because we were traveling, and my mom and I both worked from home. My dad's retired. So we were really lucky we could just kind of vacation out with the
That's
chickens
really
in the
nice.
parking lot. Yeah. But the residents, like we were so concerned, and we told the people at the front desk, we got to know them really well, because when you bring chickens cross country with you, everyone has questions
Yeah.
naturally.
Right.
People would stop to pet the chickens. Kids would like come up and say hi, which was really fun. But we were like, if anyone complains, let us know and we'll try to figure out something different, like we'll see if we can park them in a different parking lot or something. Because like in the trailer, they had enough space for the 5 chickens. I wasn't really concerned about leaving them in there all day because they had plenty of space to walk around. They could climb, they could go up. Like the head part of the trailer where like the horse's head goes, we turned those into nest boxes, and then we had like a cat carrier in there that was also a dust bath. So
Mhm.
the chickens could go in and take a bath, but they really didn't use that. They more just used that to lay their eggs, and then they waited till they were outside to go take a dust bath. Um, but yeah, so only one person ever complained. And the front desk people liked us so much. They're like, move them to the other side. We like having you guys. It's like being on a farm in the middle of the city.
Aw,
So, like, you're
That's
fine.
wonderful.
that's so
Yeah.
fun.
So, it went so much smoother than we could have hoped for. And everyone, like, along the trip, they're like, oh, what do you have in there? And like, everyone wanted to see the chickens. And like, Winston in the trailer, Winston didn't crow that much when we were moving. I don't know if it was just because it was like a new environment for him or if he couldn't see outside very well. I don't know. But yeah, it was just an easy transition. So we still have them in the horse trailer because I was like, the second thought process behind using the horse trailer instead of just bringing them in dog crates was then on this side, I wouldn't be rushed to build a new chicken coop and I could actually take time to settle in.
Right.
Um, so they have a chicken run now, but we really just let them out in free range because our whole property is fenced, which is really nice. So we just there's not a lot of predators around here, which is also really nice. There's like where we live, I think probably because we're so fenced off, like they've got 2 fences between them and the woods back behind us. So like nothing really goes in there. And then we got livestock dogs. So they kind of scare everything away. So we've been really lucky that it's just been a good situation to free range them, which
Mhm.
is so different from Phoenix. Because in Phoenix, when we moved, I was like, we are never free ranging our chickens again because we had them out in my backyard in Phoenix, middle of the city. There's lots of rats, there's lots of wild birds, and they kept getting lice. And we're like, I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
So they're going in a enclosed run. They're gonna have lots of space. We'll let them to free range every once in a while. But I got this run when we moved in about a week later, and I've put them in there maybe 2 days. Like, yeah, so it's just it was a wild summer and something that I don't know if I'm glad to say that I've done it because it was, but it's a unique experience, like
Yeah.
Mhm.
so it and I I think that if you want to move with your chickens, it's completely doable. Um, yeah, you don't necessarily need a horse trailer, but it certainly made it easier.
Yeah, I bet. So when did you guys finally find a house?
We left July 4th and then we moved into this house on September 1st, I think. So it took us a couple months of looking around. I mean, we were out almost daily looking at
Mm-hmm.
all sorts of properties. And we were really lucky to have a great realtor,
Right.
so that he made the transition easier.
That's good.
So what new things are you capable of on this property compared to your other property?
So much. So in Phoenix, we lived on less than a quarter acre. So we had like a little urban
Hmm.
farm situation going there. I tried growing food. I had luck with tomatoes and I had luck with, gosh, something else. And I don't even, oh, peppers and like herbs. And that was about all that I could get to grow in the city because of the heat and the rats. Just trying to keep those two things from killing my garden. Or when my aunt let the chickens in to destroy the garden that I had
Yeah.
put. It was a little devastating. She didn't mean to, but so here I have 11 acres that I can grow food on, which is so exciting.
Very nice.
It's a little bit cooler in the summer here, so it's not quite as intense for the plants. And so, like for someone who is a beginning gardener, it's nice to have the elements on my side.
Mm-hmm.
I have space for a greenhouse here more than I didn't really have a space for a greenhouse in Phoenix. Um, and then the chickens have more diversity to range through. I mean, we were really lucky. We've got woods on our property. So they get to go in the woods and they get to get bugs on softer ground because it's not the hard, dry clay that we had in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's been, oh my gosh, you guys digging a hole here, digging like a hole to put a bush in takes me about 2 minutes, if that. Like it is so fast. In Phoenix, that would have taken me 2 hours. And I would have had to
It's the
pre-soak the
little
ground.
things we need to be thankful for, man. It's the little things.
I have dug so many holes, you guys.
This is just an
I don't have
enjoyment
to.
now. Molly's out here just digging
Mhm.
holes in her yard because she just loves it so much.
Exactly. My dog loves it. I mean, like he loves to help me garden, and
Oh,
yeah, it's by digging holes. I tell you, that's been nice. I think that's been my favorite part.
that's so fun. So
That's good. I
what
did mine.
plans?
We're
Go ahead. You go first. I'll go then.
sorry.
No, you're
We're
fine.
very similar with climate and everything, except you guys get a little bit hotter and more humid. I dug when I planted my orchard, I think I have like 7 trees or something like that. I think it took me maybe an hour, and I was like lining things with them, digging the holes bigger than it had to be, obviously, and didn't take very long at all. And I was like, thank you.
It is so nice to have that little convenience.
Yeah. I ran into a lot of problems. This whole area, like the neighborhoods all around us, used to be a big horse farm like forever ago. And I kept like hitting things, and I was like, I don't want to know what this is, but it's down there.
Yeah, I'm told there's a donkey buried out in the front yard somewhere.
Oh wow,
I think I found a cat the other day.
wow.
I don't know if there's
That's
like boundaries
That's
there or something, but
so
yeah,
you're just gonna be out in your yard digging up donkeys now too.
yeah, I guess. But we got a couple Pyrenees lab mix puppies, and the worst things that their old owner told me about them is they're really good at finding things that are lost
Hmm.
and bringing bones to you. And that's true. They bring bones. I don't know where they find them.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I'm like, one day I swear they're just gonna start bringing me like a donkey leg or something, and because
That'll be the
it's sunk
day.
dirt, they can find it.
start saving them all, and then you can put like a whole skeleton together and just have a donkey skeleton.
Seriously.
I'm like, I feel like, I mean, it's South Carolina, man. They say there's some weird things out in the woods. So I'm like, okay, if I dig something up that are like some bones up, is something gonna come get me or something?
Seriously.
For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, all our dirt is clay. That's just all it is. It's not hard clay. It's just like it's not good dirt. We don't have any good dirt here most of the time. No, all the time we'll just have to dig everything up and then apply dirt from something else, whether it's mushroom compost or stuff like that, just because it's just all clay. You have your topsoil and then it's just clay. It's not
Yeah,
good.
that's how it is here too. So I've got some raised beds, but it's softer to dig in, and it still has more to the soil, more organic material than we did in Phoenix. So there is a lot more that I'm able to grow just in ground, which has been really nice.
Yeah.
The owners that had this property before us, all of the owners they weren't really gardeners, I don't think. But we pulled a bunch of shrubs away from the house because when we moved in, we did not expect there to be so many spiders, because like we're from the desert where everything tries to kill you. But here, like we get these massive spiders. And like back home, it's only like tarantulas and like sometimes brown recluse or wolf spiders, and they
Yeah,
don't
you
do a whole
say
lot. But
that
there's a
like
lot.
it's nothing. I would die. Okay, I would actually
Well,
die.
they're not gonna hurt you.
No. I died
It's
over a
like, yeah,
flipping
but it's like
cockroach
they
on my
run.
wall. Okay, there's a cockroach on my
You
wall.
know.
It scared the crap out of me. I mean, there's like tarantulas. I'm like, dude, what the heck?
But like there were spiders everywhere. And so we're like, okay, they're only around for a couple months. It's like end of summer and then they go away, which is nice. I mean, we get the occasional like wolf spider, but I don't mind those. But there
You
were
say
so
that
many. We're
though,
like,
it's
we
so
gotta do
nonchalant.
bushes.
What the
That's what
heck?
the chickens are for, Like you get the chickens to eat all the insects and like they're fine. But
Exactly.
we ripped out all these bushes, right? And I'm like, okay, great. I can plant all these pollinator gardens. Like we can plant flowers and like I guess this house is known as the bee house because we live next to a school and the guy who lives here, so everyone knows our house because like the kids all drive by it every day. And the guy who lived here had like 6 to 8 bee houses. And so eventually I want to get some more. So we're like, okay, let's do everything we can for the bees. Um, and so I was ripping out all these bushes, but they put landscape fabric down everywhere. And like you're saying, it's that top couple inches of topsoil and then it's just clay underneath. But the soil has been so leached. So I spent
Yeah.
like a month ripping all this landscape fabric up just so I could plant things again. But
Yeah.
this year I'm hoping now that I've done all that, it's going to be a lot easier to garden and I won't have to fight everything every time I go to garden. I just get to
Yeah. Seriously.
We have in the middle of summer, we call them banana spiders. At least that's what my family calls them. The big yellow spiders,
Yeah, we
black
have
and
this here.
yellow.
I
I
love them.
hate those. One year they took like my tomato beds, two longer beds, tomatoes on both sides of the wall, and then right in the middle. And I was harvesting tomatoes, looked beside me, and I just saw it, just staring. I waited right there for a second, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna back off slowly. And then I think I screamed after that. I was just like, oh, and
Yeah.
I've been around them my whole life. And then
Yeah.
I was just like, you can have this section of the garden until you leave. And yeah, that's where that spider lived until they left. So I had half the tomatoes, he had half the tomatoes, and we were good.
I love it. Yeah, we've got those here and they're cool. They're one of the only spiders that spins like a zipper in their web. So you can
Yeah.
identify them really easily. I'd never seen one before. It freaked us out the first time we saw them here, right? But they're so good for your garden. They eat all the bad bugs. So now I've told my dad he's not allowed to kill any of them. So he makes me go scoop them up and I'm taking them to my garden now.
Oh
'Cause
my goodness.
they're not going to bite me. And I'll wear gloves around them, but I'm like, you keep all those bad insects away. I had like, what are the broccoli worms? I had those on my broccoli for a little while and the spider took care of them. So
That's good. I try not to mess with them. But like when you're in the middle of my tomatoes, like when I first seeing them start doing their webs, I'll like I'll just get rid of one side of it. I'll like just go somewhere else. You can go in between it. You can go over here. You can go anywhere. Just stay away from the tomatoes. I want those. And last year I think I had like 4 or 5, and I ended up like every single time I was like, they're like, hey, stay over there. We're good.
Yeah.
And thank you for doing what you're doing, but please, distance is key.
And they've got like those black legs too that make them look so much scarier than they are.
Those legs are gnarly.
Yeah. We have a green version here too, which scared me because all of a sudden, like all these new, we're in a different growing zone. It's a little cooler here. So I think back home I was 9B and I think I'm 7B here, or 7B or 8A or something. But we can grow hydrangeas and dahlias and peonies, which are some of my favorite flowers, like all the fun big flowers, right? So our property has a lot of hydrangeas on it, which is just heavenly. But they have a green version of that yellow spider, and you can't see it on the leaves. So I was like trimming hydrangea flowers to bring in the house. All of a sudden, there's this massive spider in my face. I was like, oh
no.
I've never seen that. Must just be like farther south because I've never seen a green version of that. I don't want to.
Yeah, we've got lots of bright green bugs, lots of camouflage here, which has been really cool because like I'm used to desert plants and they
Yeah.
have their own adaptions and their own camouflage and stuff, but it's not, and I appreciate it in a different way, but it's so cool to see like I saw like one of those brown leaf grasshoppers the other day where its wings look like leaves. I was like, because I was raking leaves up and I mean they blend in so well. It's wild.
Yeah.
I
We
mean, I'm
have,
biologist, so I'm like, oh yeah, this is like so cool.
yeah, we do a lot. We've had a few praying mantises. I want to, we don't really have a need for them, I'd say, but I like having them. And when I was in elementary school, my second, third, and fifth grade teacher, same teacher, just moved up with us. Every single year, she would order ladybugs, praying mantis egg cases, and butterfly chrysalises. And one year we had the praying mantis go, like, apparently what we had them in wasn't small enough for baby praying mantises. So we walked in one day, 500 praying mantises were everywhere. And we were like, we would pick things up and we'd be like, there's like 10 on this right now. So we would like try to get them back in the thing or take them outside.
I don't
But
like
we would do
bugs.
it with the
This conversation, y'all saw me with the cockroach. I mean, I don't like bugs. I don't like bugs. I'm checking out, y'all. I just don't like them. They're not cool.
I considered that with because I had a really bad aphid problem my second or third year gardening.
Those are nasty because you can't see them, and then you're in there in your little garden, and then there they are crawling up your arm like, ew.
Yep.
I have bad experience with bugs, I guess. Okay, apparently all bugs just hate me. You guys like, yeah, spider in my hands, no big deal. I'm over here like, it's going to eat me. Okay.
But I think I mentioned it in a video one time when the aphids were everywhere, and I was like, or Instagram Live or something. Maybe it was in stories. I have no clue. But I was like, I'm just gonna order some ladybugs offline. And like to some people that might sound crazy. To me, I know you can do it, obviously. And I was like, this is just a completely normal thing that anybody can do. And then I think one person was just like, you're gonna what? I was like, order ladybugs. I got to get rid of these aphids. I waited, obviously, but the ladybugs came in, wiped all the aphids away.
You bought ladybugs?
And I was like, thank you.
That's great.
No, I was going to.
Oh, I was gonna say, I wanted to know if
like,
you can actually buy ladybugs.
Yeah, you can.
You can buy ladybugs.
To do that in Phoenix. I mean, they all fly away because once they eat all the aphids, and there's nothing for them to stay. They don't like it. But here they look like ladybugs, but I guess they're like a Japanese or a Chinese version, and they bite. And everyone's like, watch out for the ladybugs, they bite. And we're like, what are you talking about? Ladybugs don't bite because we're used to the kind that we have out west. And I have not been bitten by one, knock on wood, but they are everywhere. These things, like you move a piece of wood and there's like a cluster of them this big. And in the summer, it was like, I don't mind them because they're ladybugs. Like I'm fine with them. Hopefully they just keep all the bad bugs away in my garden, and like they're beautiful to look at and they're colorful and fun, but like I have never in my life seen so many ladybugs. Like they swarm so much, you can see them flying around. Like it's like a
Oh, that's interesting.
swarm. And it's interesting because like we have grapes here and they they just swarm all around the grapes. I'm like, what? Where did these come from? But
Mm-mm.
they're here, and I guess they're here to stay
Mm-mm.
because they're not leaving.
Mm-mm.
We don't have a lot. We have a few ladybugs, but like you said, that once, I mean, I don't have a lot of pests for
Yeah.
sure. Hopefully not this year either, but I mean, there's really no reason for them to stay here when they can go somewhere else. And then I don't know what you guys, I don't know if you've tried doing squash or not yet. The squash bugs, my great grandparents live less than a mile away from me. We can plant squash here, we can plant squash there. We get 2 or 3 squash completely overrun with squash bugs. I'm picking them off by the handful and throwing them to the chickens. My great grandparents are over there swimming in squash less than a mile away, and they're bringing 20 to 30 squash to us. We have more than we need. I'm like, why? I just
Nice.
to grow squash.
Wow. Yeah, that's really nice.
All we have is Japanese beetles.
Oh, and those suck. Those are hard to
They're,
get rid of.
they're awful, especially on fruit trees. They're terrible. And we have snakes too. We've had snakes in our house before. That's
I come from the land of snakes, so snakes don't bother me. I've seen eggs here, which is cool. I never saw eggs in Phoenix, but
Oh,
I haven't seen any snakes yet. So the dogs will
we
probably
have,
bring them at some point.
we've had a few snakes. They've messed with the chickens a few times. And I'm one of those people, like, I'm not gonna go and like pick up a snake, and I would prefer to stay well away from a snake. But when it's messing with my girls or in my coop, that's when things happen. Like they have to go. We had the
Mama Hen
chicken
Zach's
wire.
coming out. He's like, get the heck out of here.
We had the regular chicken wire, and I went out there one day and everybody was just freaking out. It's like, what's going on? Went over there, a snake was curled in the chicken wire, couldn't get out. So I was like, I don't know how you're gonna get out, but I'm gonna cut this piece out. I'm gonna replace it, and you're gonna die over here for a little while I do this. So I did that, and it was still just moving around. I was like, well, I feel bad for you. So I was like, okay, you gotta go, and I just had to end it. And then we had chicks last year. It was the day after we got chicks. I had them in the top of one of my smaller coops, and because I mean it was still cooler at night, but there was like 15 or 20, and they were all up there.
Mhm.
Snake got in and ate a bunch of the babies, and I was like, darn. But we picked the coop up because it was in the bottom, and not dropped it, but kind of like laid it on it after it slithered out a little bit, so it couldn't go anywhere, and then beheaded it. And then my sister, being really into science, decided that she was going to take an old pumpkin carver and slice down the snake and get the chicks back. So that's what she did.
Were they
And I was
alive?
like, they were not alive. And
I was gonna
if they
good
were alive,
grief.
I was like, that'd be fantastic. But then I got to thinking about it. I was like, I don't want zombie chickens, so let's just hold off on that. They were all done, but it was really interesting seeing how it like went after them in a way. I mean, it's sad, but it was interesting seeing like where it grabbed certain ones, and some of them were like a day or two old, which was very sad. But
It's sad. Yeah, I'm sure everyone's gonna love hearing us talk about snakes and insects. But
Seriously, this has, I don't know where
we've
we
lost
went.
people.
Yeah, where did this
No
go
one ever
to? Guys, don't worry. We're going to get back on track here. This is all a part of the plan. We do this all the time.
I love it. But yeah, so many differences here in Phoenix. I mean, we moved just because we wanted to do more with, I mean, homesteading, get livestock, grow more of our own food, have more chickens, which we will have more chickens by the end of the week. We are prepping a third coop now because we ordered too many.
No
So we're
such
gonna-
thing.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. I was on the phone with the feed store ordering the chicks, and my mom and I were like, because they were looking at like what was available in the next few weeks, and because we wanted the pretty special breeds because I run our social media accounts and we want pretty
Yeah.
eggs, and so of course we're ordering the more expensive chickens, and they didn't have any Cochins, and I'm like, who doesn't have Cochins? There, I feel like that's a fairly common breed,
Mhm.
but anyway, we were picking them out and we're like, well, we want two of those. And then they're like, well, we don't have that breed, but we have this breed. And we're like, yeah, let's just get two of those. And then like two of these. And like, we're just all the
That's
chicks.
how it works. That's how it
It worked.
happens.
So we were going to order 12 and we doubled that. So
Wow.
Yeah, I feel
yeah.
that we went from, because I ordered my second year getting chickens, I was like, okay, I want some rainbow eggs. So I want just a few rainbow eggs. I said everything would be okay. No, we got our 5 from Meyer, and then I was like, okay, well, these are cool, but then Tractor Supply now has black copper Morans. And then I was like, oh, well, we need some more gray chickens too. So then we called the Tractor Supply 25 minutes from us. They have lavender Orpingtons. Guess we're traveling down here. And we live, I mean, I live fairly close to like 5 or 6 different Tractor Supplies, all close. And I think it was like a 2 week period that we were just every other week at a different one.
Chicken
Oh my
master.
And then
gosh.
we saved a few of them. We had one and Buff Orpington, and they were like, "Oh, she's not going to make it. She's not doing too well." And she was like 2 weeks old, and I was like, "Well, I have chicks that same age, so just throw her in. Just put her
There
in."
you go.
She just had pasty butt, and
Yeah.
they weren't doing what they were doing like supposed to do,
They never
and
do what
she,
they're supposed to do.
they never
They
do. And she was going to
never do.
pass away, and I was like, I've saved you. You've laid me so many eggs, and these people are just leaving
Yeah.
you to die. And now, I mean, she's still here 3 years later, and I'm like, yeah, you were a good save.
That's good. Man, it's so frustrating that so many, I mean, I know it's a lot of work to like pay attention to all those chicks, but it's like if you're going to order chicks into your store, I feel like you need to be a little more responsible
Right.
because it is a life that you're taking care of.
Mhm.
I mean, and
Right.
potential profit for them, I don't know.
Right. Know the
We
simple
had,
things, like the simple ailments like splayed leg and pasty butt. Those are just common
yeah,
things. I mean, just to know that
Is
would
it
be a
if you're
world of
doing
a
it black and
difference.
white?
Right. And if
yeah.
somebody
Yeah.
We
came
had
in
the,
asking for them, I came in and one had splayed legs and I said, guys, he's literally about to die. Like, can I take him? No, you have to take 6. He's about to die.
that's the
Yeah.
difference between your Tractor Supply or wherever you were going and mine. I know everybody at my Tractor Supply. I mean, we've had chickens for 4 years now, and I just talked to everybody. They all have birds. So there's a lot in common. And I had people call me from up there, bring birds by, and I had birds that had splay leg. Um, my Tractor Supply was really good about doing like handling pasty butt and just like getting rid of it completely. But some of them were mainly problems with hatchery, like on the hatchery side, which in my opinion, those birds shouldn't have gone out anyways. I mean, there was birds that had crossbeak at a few days old, and
Mm-hmm.
that's bad, obviously, if it's already showing. And then I had one bird come to me with one eye, and I was like, you poor thing.
Oh, oh, oh,
So
oh.
I think I held that
I've had
bird.
chicks with extra legs and butts.
What?
I had a chicken with an extra butt. It was really weird. I
How does
remember
that
that.
work?
Now, I don't know. I have no clue. But I just remember that's so random. Well, it was one of the Cornish cross. They're always like bred to like be all big and chunky and whatever. So it's like whenever
Yeah,
that happens, obviously you're gonna get the weird things. But I feel like I've had a chicken. Okay, maybe it wasn't an extra leg. Maybe it was just the butt. Maybe it was just the butt. I don't know, but it was something weird like that. It had an extra something or another, and it was messed up. It was I was looking at all the chickens because whenever I have them, I have to check, keep up with like make sure there's no pasty butt, whatever. You can tell whenever they start like acting down or they'll be squawking really, really loudly, and so I always check
yeah.
that. And I go around, I'm lifting every bird up, and then I lift this one up, and I'm like, "Hey, oh, that's a little whack." I
What did
was
that
like,
look like? Do you have a photo?
it's
Oh
literally
my gosh.
2
I've never
butts.
heard of that.
It
There's a
was
lot of
so
things for
weird.
chickens. Never heard
It
of
was
that.
so weird. So weird. It died. It didn't make it. It just, I don't know if this, I mean, the one can't be connected to anything, right?
That's what I was just thinking. Like maybe, yeah,
And
like how does it go to the bathroom? Poor
Exactly.
yeah,
thing.
I have
Oh
no idea.
my gosh.
It had two butts, y'all. That note to self, that's something you don't
it's
want to find
interesting.
whenever in your chicks. Don't chickens are not
Right?
supposed to have two butts if you're a beginner. That's not right.
Not right
You
at
have
all.
one hole. There's one
One.
hole for everything.
Yes.
One.
If they have more than one hole, now, I
Take
mean,
it
something
then.
to look out for that a lot of new chicken owners don't know is the umbilical cord. And that's something you have to be careful with
Mhm.
with pasty butt is like there will be a little nub there sometimes, and you don't want to rub that off.
Right.
Only the poop.
Only the
Yeah.
Yeah.
poop.
But yeah,
Only
I got it. I got 25 coming in this week. I got to start checking, and that like hit me yesterday that like, oh my gosh, that's okay. Because I'm excited for the chicks, I'm excited for the chickens and the eggs. I'm excited for the eggs, but then I was like, oh, I've never taken care of that many chicks before. That's a
yeah.
lot of work.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna be just sitting in there working away on my laptop all week,
What
just listening
what
to
breeds
that
did you
chirping.
get?
Ooh, so many. I got
Well,
uh,
because you're like, well, there's two, we got two of these and two of these, so we're all chicken people
well,
here.
I got
What you get?
lavender and black Orpingtons because I love their breeds.
Mhm.
We got cream light bars, black Cooper Morans, goodness, Barnfelders. How do you guys say that? Because I think out west we say Barnfelders, but then they said it
I've heard
differently.
it Beofilder,
Felder.
something like that.
Okay.
That's how
Yeah.
I've heard it said. I don't
Okay.
pronounce things properly though, so don't take it.
I've heard things pronounced. I think, if I'm hearing it, if I think that it's the correct one, I think the correct way to say it's Bielefelder or something like that.
So
Very weird pronunciation, but apparently
yeah,
that's what it is. I
Go
don't
Felder
with
know.
is common.
whatever your heart desires. You know what? It doesn't matter anymore. You can say whatever you want.
I have pretty eggs, and I got 3 of those, I think.
Those are cool.
Yeah, I got a couple other breeds, and I don't remember actually offhand, which is probably bad, but
Yeah,
yeah,
you
we
just
got
get them in
a
the
few
mail and
pretty
it's
cool.
just a surprise. Oh, I
Exactly.
forgot I got those. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, and we ordered them to the feed store too, so that we could only pick up a couple that we wanted, and then they'll just keep the rest. But what was helpful with chicken math is that we order our chicks vaccinated for Merrick's because we've had it in our flock. So I can't just go to Tractor Supply like morally and pick up chicks because I'm like, I don't want to bring you home if you're not vaccinated because I can't
Right.
you in the next couple
Right.
of years. Merrick's sucks, man. It sucks to deal with Merrick's disease.
Mhm.
Um, if you don't know what it is, for people listening, it can come in different forms. It's basically a catch-all for chickens. They can have neurological issues, they can have ocular issues, they can have nervous issues, nervous system issues. They can also just grow tumors all throughout their body, which is the
Mhm.
kind that my ladies have. Um, and it cannot show symptoms for years. And then all of a sudden, your chicken has it and they are
Right.
down, which sucks.
Right.
But at least they can walk, so they're happy. They're happy. That's
Exactly.
all I care
Yeah.
about. But
Right.
the chicks that we bring in, we're trying to vaccinate.
Mhm.
So that's why we ordered them through the feed store. But
So,
our
I check all
and
with
silkies. Duh. I ordered 8
no,
silkies.
just 8 of them.
I'm
Just
selfish.
8 silkies. That's awesome.
With checking your birds, I mean, that's for anybody, honestly. That's something that you should do. Check them over. Anytime you get a new animal, I feel like just check them over. I
Mhm.
do that with I mean, right now I can only do ducklings, but I check when I hatch out ducklings for leg problems because that's a big thing with ducks. But with chickens, obviously checking for extra appendages or an
Extra
extra butt in
butts.
some cases. But just checking for different things and just really knowing what could happen is a big thing that I think a lot of people are like, oh well we got it. And then you encounter this and you're like, I don't got it. I don't got it at all. But it is good to at least know the basics of some things. Like I didn't know with coccidiosis, coccidia, whatever. Um, didn't know you were supposed to be doing supplementing vitamins, that it depletes all the vitamins. And I was like, everybody was getting better. And then two of my birds died. And I was like, this is awful. And then when Tractor Supply talked to them and they were like, you need to be supplementing vitamins. And I was like, thank you. Saved two of my birds that way. Still lost two. But I took that as a learning experience, as being like, okay, I lost two because I was not knowledgeable, but I will not lose another bird from this because I know now what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and anytime you bring chicks home, it's good to give them some electrolytes for at least a couple days
Right.
because,
Yeah.
the shipping process, the moving, the transport, that really can shock them because they're so small. And a lot of chicks just die because of that. So if you check them, make sure that they're drinking water, making sure that they're pooping properly because if they get pasty butt, which is just poop on their butt, they will die very quickly, actually.
Yeah.
And it's such an easy thing to save. But if you're not checking your birds daily when they're that little and that fragile, then like you can lose a
Exactly.
lot.
Exactly. And especially, I think it's helpful the more research you do and the more that you know. I mean, obviously, I've learned a lot from experience. Noticing things in your flock and with your birds. I mean, I can pick out in one of my birds and be like, oh, you're moving slower than normal. And like my mom
Right.
or sister will be like, what? She looks perfectly fine. I'm like, no, 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 no. She's moving a little slower. Look at the way her head's nestled in and her feathers are puffed up. Why do I know that? Because I've seen progressions of things and I now, from experience, am able to catch it sooner and I'm able to see it. And whenever I hear heavy breathing, I hear breathing. I hear them breathing. Like I can hear these things. Like it's just because I guess I've been in the coop so much and I've been around so many illnesses, but I've also done a lot of research. And I feel like people, they just get chickens and they just get chickens. And it's like there is still a lot of work to go into this, guys. Like
Right.
it's a
And they're
lot.
And you know your birds.
Right.
they're normally
Ultimately, you
very
know
easy.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you don't spend time with them, which is why something that we tell all of our schools, something that we tell people who follow us, like you want to make sure that your coop is set up because there's so many different ways to do all of the chicken things. And there's not necessarily a right or a wrong way to do most things because it's very situation dependent. However,
Mhm.
you do want to make sure that your coop is a place that you like to be because if you don't like to be in your coop, then you're not spending time with your chickens and you're not getting to know them, and
Right.
you do really want to get to know them because then you know when things are going wrong. If you
Right.
have a chicken who's walking around slower or who normally has their tail up when it's a certain degree outside a certain temperature, and
Exactly.
it's like, oh, their tail's down today, they're not really eating or drinking a whole lot, something's up, and you can catch it before it hurts your whole flock too,
Right.
like you have to know those things.
Separating quick as you can, or even starting to apply things. I mean,
Yeah.
just knowing I have a medicine drawer just full of like chicken things that I can just quickly apply. And there's things that I've just highly recommended to people like you need to have this stuff on hand just in case of emergencies. I say it all the time. If you got bumblefoot, I mean, honey and garlic, wrap it up. I kid you not, it healed my one chicken. I have that on hand, like apple cider vinegar in the water. These are just like natural remedies. Like I have stuff I picked up
Right.
from Tractor Supply still that I recommend, like Veterex and Vetericin. Those are just easy things that I can apply that helps with respiratory, and then the other one helps with if they have any cuts or wounds or
Also
anything.
bumblefoot.
Exactly. Just simple things that it's just like, okay, this is a quick thing I can put on till I do research and figure out what more I can do. And just having that
Exactly.
research on hand, I mean, granted, I know that I only have that knowledge because I've dealt with it. And I mean, if you're new to this, I mean, honestly, good for you because you haven't dealt with it yet. That's not a bad thing. But since you are dealing with it, have this knowledge in store, have books. I have books on hand just of like chicken, just to know the body of a chicken and how it works is also very
Yeah.
helpful. When a hen is egg bound, you can know things. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a chicken first aid kit on our website of like what we include in ours,
Hmm.
which I think I have some more things that I want to add to it a little bit. But one really helpful book that we like is Gail Damero's The Chicken Health Handbook.
Yep, I
Like
have
I had to
it.
run a fecal test on my chickens this week for the first time because my dogs had roundworm, and I'm concerned they got it from the chickens, even though they're not really showing signs. It's hard with the Merrick's disease too because I don't know what is from Merrick's versus what is from like, oh, maybe
Hmm.
that because if their poop's more watery one day, I have one girl with heart failure and like she's she's out with the rest of the flock because I'm not separating her for years, and
Yeah.
she's not hurting them. So she's got watery poop, but that's kind of normal for her. But I know that. And so the test came back negative, but like I would recommend keeping a fecal sample kit on hand, especially if you have a microscope, because you can do it yourself. You don't have to go pay a vet for it.
Right.
But then I
Right.
know, like, I mean, for deworming chickens, thankfully I didn't find anything, but my chickens get broccoli and they get garlic and they get apple cider vinegar and
Right.
Batterex
And I
all the
think that's
time.
so cool too, because that's just right there a natural thing that you can do. I mean, there's so
Exactly.
many things that you can grow and that you can just have that's natural, and it's not putting those chemical things into your birds and like risking that. It's still like from the earth, and it's healthy and it's good
And
for
it's not
them.
risking resistance to it either.
Right.
And if you use antibiotics or something, like, and when you don't have to, your birds can be the parasite or whatever can become intolerant of that, or tolerant of it, and it won't work anymore.
I
Yeah.
think it's
Save
so
it for the
beautiful.
emergency.
I think it's so beautiful that there's so many natural things that can benefit you in so many ways. Like
Yeah.
just garlic in itself, there's so many benefits to it. Like I take it whenever I'm sick and I have a cold, and it's just an added something that'll help me get better. Or there's elderberry, like those are so good for you. There's so many good things that come from the earth. And I mean, with farming and agriculture and that stuff, I think that's also a beautiful way of capturing that, because you're honestly using those natural things to your ability and not letting it go to waste. And I feel like more people are noticing that you can grow these things, and these things are actually really good for you. These things are actually helpful, instead of always going to another source. You have it
Right.
right in your backyard. I think it's beautiful that people are actually finally catching on to this, and I really hope, and I love that you guys do that. You go to schools and you teach the younger generation, because I mean, me and Zach, we are the younger generation per se, and we love to just be on here to teach other people, whether you are young or old. We like to also be hopefully an inspiration to people who just are like, okay, if these kids can do it, then maybe we can do it and we can try it out. I'm not saying we got everything right, guys. We don't. We're still very much learning. But I mean, that's our goal, is to help educate and to inspire other people to take hold of this resource and to take care of the earth and to take advantage of what we've been given, and to really take hold of it, because I mean, God placed it here for a reason. I firmly believe that. And
Yeah.
we, instead of letting it go to waste, let's steward his creation. And I don't know. I go off on this all the time, but it's just so
No, you're
beautiful
good.
to me. It's so beautiful.
I talk about it
Yeah.
all the time too. I mean, that's our philosophy is that, if you're going to have chickens, you might as well have a garden and then you got to have a compost system because you got to deal with all that waste, like
Right.
I think it's so cool because everything works together.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's just what happens. And I feel like we've lost that with the last generation or two, and I think
Exactly.
finally my generation, your generation, we're starting to get back. And it's so important that you guys educate people,
Hmm.
because and again show by example because you know if we all learn together then we're learning together
Exactly.
Yeah.
and figure things
And
out
that
fast.
yeah. And that's why I'd garden organically. I mean, obviously all of this, but if you're adding chemicals to your plants or the soil, you're compromising the soil structure that's already there. It's already abundant in everything that it needs. Some things just aren't going to do well, and that's okay. As much as it sucks, it's okay. There's going to be some years where pest pressure is so bad that you won't be able to grow a lot of things. And you've talked about it with our generations really realizing that. I put in a garden at my great grandparents' house, and they were talking about my great grandfather specifically, he worked for a bunch of different companies out every single state. He worked for Del Monte, different apple orchards all around. And he said, I got out of the agriculture business because they started changing things. They started spraying the fields with things that I had no idea what was even in it. And he just said he had to get away from it. And I was like, that's so weird that in the past, I mean, because he's only 90 now, so the past 80 years, it's only just started happening. I mean, that's how people ate forever, was home gardens. And before, home gardens, victory gardens, whatever you want to call them, that's what they were. Everybody, if you didn't grow it, you
Exactly.
didn't eat it. It was as simple as that, or
Mhm.
you bartered for it.
Exactly. You have grandparents who love you enough to grow extra squash for you.
Yeah.
And then, but it's
Love
like
the squash.
spray, all the bugs go away, and then the bad ones come back. You could have a spider and take care of all that, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
Then you feed everything to the chicken. Then, like, it works so well together.
It
Yeah.
does. It's been said here in the natural process. Once you take one thing out, like you guys do the coops and garden, and that really does work together so
Yeah.
well. You said it earlier with the compost system and everything else. You have chickens, they're going to do the waste, which is going to feed the garden, and then, or for the compost to feed the garden, and then the produce can then in turn feed the chickens, and then whole cycles over again. And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
awesome.
It's
It's
also
That
so
brings us in.
intricately designed to work together. And
Yes.
it's so cool.
yeah, so cool. I love it.
Agriculture is a beautiful thing. And we're coming down to the last couple minutes of this episode. And one thing we always ask at the end of all our episodes is, what would you say? Because we love to see the different perspectives from like everybody. And it's going to be really cool just to maybe compile all of them in an episode for you guys. But what would you say would be your favorite thing about this lifestyle? It's hard to pick one thing because there's so many aspects of it. But
It's
we've
really
heard a
hard.
lot of cool different perspectives from it, even from my cousin. He's 8 years old and he just gave his little perspective on it. And it's so cool.
I think my favorite part about keeping chickens, gardening, homesteading, whatever you want to call it, um, is that you, when things work together, like we were just talking about, it's so rewarding to watch, and you feel good. And like, whether that's breathing in soil and you're getting those endorphins or whatever, and it makes you happy. You're out there working really hard, but you see the reward for it. You're out with chickens all day, and sure, they poop and they might smell and be a pain sometimes, but they also make you so happy. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, but it's just so rewarding. And you feel good knowing that you're using everything that God's given you. You're using everything that you can. You don't have waste and space. You don't have waste products, and those are some really important values to me. And so I think that my favorite part about all of that is just how everything works together, and you just feel good from it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's
A
awesome.
little thing, because I feel like we've asked some people this as well. What's one piece of advice that you give to somebody who's wanting to get into this lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, do your research before, but don't be afraid to make mistakes and just try things out. I mean, the best way to learn is to experiment and do things hands on. And it can be scary to do that when you have living things that you're experimenting with. But if you get connected online, Facebook groups, Instagram community, like,
Exactly.
so many resources and so many people out there willing to help.
Hmm.
And I stopped on my way home the other day. I saw this guy pruning his grapes, and I stopped to ask him because I've never had grapes before. And he was more than willing to talk to me about, like, oh, this
Hmm.
is where you cut them. Like, but yeah, just ask for help and don't be afraid to try it out. Trust
Yeah.
your gut.
Yeah. We here, ones who like farming and agriculture, we try to form a community because honestly, there's not many of us anymore. And we're so willing to have people join our army. Like, guys, come on, ask us questions. That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. And the outreaches that we do, the podcast episodes that we do, having other people on to just hear their perspectives, but also to give you guys a new resource. Now that you know who Molly is, now you guys can go check out all her socials and learn from her and ask her questions, because they have that organization themselves. That's why we do this, because we want to grow our community, and we're definitely more than willing to help you guys and to teach you, because it's a beautiful thing and it's a lost art, and we want to really just grow our community and to grow the people that are joining us and to just help them learn more.
Yeah. And as good as it feels. What?
We're happy people. We play in dirt all day.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
Fun.
Very much so. And even though some of us are introverts, we still like talking. We love
Yeah.
talking about the things that we love.
Mhm.
Like, I'm terrified of talking to people. Not terrified. I'm doing a lot, but if someone asked me about my garden, I'd 5-hour conversation, and I'm
Because
more
it's a
than willing to have
comfortable
that
topic
conversation.
for us. It's all we do. It's what we live.
Exactly.
It's what we breathe,
Live and
guys.
breathe
This is
it,
what
yeah.
we exactly. It's what we do. We're so much in that world that we want to bring that world to you guys as well, and that's why we do these websites, social media, all this stuff. This is the way that you get the word out nowadays. So we're here doing it. But Molly, we are so glad that you joined us here. We love having you on, and guys, we will have all the links to her stuff in the description. So you guys can check out everything. Go, if you have any questions or anything, leave them in the comments or message us on Instagram, message her on Instagram if you have any questions for her. But I think that's everything for today's episode. Did anybody else have anything they want to add?
No, I think we're good.
Thank you guys so much for having me again. This is always fun, getting to talk chickens and garden and life.
Exactly. It's
The
such
best
we
things
have
to
such a
talk about.
blast. Exactly. We have such a blast, and we're so thankful that you were here to join us on an episode. Guys, we hope this video taught you something, and we hope it inspired you as well. If you were thinking about getting chickens, go do it. You know, there's a lot of people out there, if you have questions, that will help you out. If you're scared, if you're nervous to do it, take that leap. Do your research beforehand, but take that leap. And I mean, if we're your research, we're happy to be here to teach you how to do this. So
And
thank you
dive in.
guys. Exactly.
Right in. 24 chickens.
Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.